Why do I have so many jars? That is a good question, isn't it? Hi, welcome back to Ridgehaven Homestead, off-grid living and more. I had a little visitor come a few weeks ago. He was like 5 or 6 years old, and when he came, he had a different purpose. But when he got here, he kept asking his mom, he kept telling her, "I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry." And I was like, what do you think made him say that? Well, it turns out he was eyeing all these jars behind me, and he got inspired. And he was a little charmer, let me tell you. So before he left, he did go away with some trail mix. And of course, he narrowed down the most colorful, the most unhealthy thing that I had, but that's okay. He was very excited to see what we had in these jars. And so I wanted to tell you today about this jar shelf. We made this custom made, and it's one of my favorite features of our off-grid cabin. As you can see, this shelf actually makes up our entire wall. It's only a half wall, but we do have the option, if we feel like it, for continuing on up and going up to the top where we have the other beam. For now, I really kind of like it this way. This is the wall that goes down our steps coming up into the kitchen. And so it's just a perfect place. We had this beam here, and we had the wall behind me. It did not have a beam, but we debated about what we were gonna do with this wall. We thought we would just do a half wall like traditionally, or maybe a banister like you do. So we thought about doing the rebar banisters like we did upstairs in the loft. But the more I thought about it, the more I just thought, wow, I really want a place for my bulk storage jars. And I used to store my bulk jars on my baker's rack, but it was hard to get to the jars because they had to be kind of stacked on top of each other. And frankly, I just kind of maxed out my space. And so I got the inspiration. I looked on Pinterest. I could not find anything that I was really looking for. I found a couple examples of bookcase walls that people had done, but I really wanted our shelf to be all the way through. I wanted it to be clear. I wanted the light to be able to shine through the jars and be kind of a decorative and functional part of our kitchen. So I presented the idea to Andrew, and thankfully he jumped right on it, and he was so amazing. He figured it out. We did a lot of measuring and calculating because we didn't want to waste any space. Now, the bulk of my jars is the half-gallon mason jars, and so these are pretty tall, and so we measured to accommodate them exactly. And then on some of the other shelves, we did do quart mason jars. And so we have the option of doing those. Of course, we can fit them, but I'm pretty sure that this shelf all the way to the wall, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 levels, and it will hold 88 jars, 88 half-gallon jars. Not that I have that many. I don't even really have half that amount yet, but I really love these jars for storage. I store most of my beans in them, and I have for years, plus other grains and things. And I have found out over the years that our family is a different kind of organization style. Maybe we don't have that great of an organization style, but we are the kind of people who have to see it to remember it. If it's all closed away in behind closed doors, in the cabinet, in the pantry, we kind of forget about it, and so then we don't use it as much. But when these things are on display, we can see them all, then I think, oh, maybe I should make some lemon verbena tea. Maybe I should make some 15 bean soup. And so we kind of get inspired by seeing the stuff. And so that this really helps us a lot. And yeah, we have a weird style, but I really kind of like how it looks. It's kind of pretty, it's colorful, and I don't know, I've got a different style and it works for me. Because our kitchen is kind of small, we didn't want to have a special place dedicated to this that was like a freestanding shelf. We wanted to incorporate it into our wall. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. We happened to have these 2x6 poplar boards, but you could use any kind of boards. You could use pine, oak, whatever. I think pine would be plenty strong. And we went like 9 feet across, and so we had to put a support in the middle, if you can see this, because we didn't want it to sag. And so we also had the advantage of having a beam right at the proper place. So whatever you have, you can just make it work. If you go between 2 walls, it would work. If you have 2 beams, or if you have to put up like a 6x6 to be the standing support, that would work just fine too. And we love ours because when we were coming up the steps, we can see the jars spark in the sunlight when the sun is shining through the window. And so from either side, we can kind of see that, and that's what we did. Our wall is 9 feet long. Between each space, it is 9.5 inches, and that perfectly accommodates the space for these jars. Basically what we did is measure the jars, and they are like just a smidgen under 9.5, and so we only added not even probably a 1/4 inch, maybe a scant 1/4 inch, to allow for, you know, to be able to get them easily, but we didn't want a big amount of space. And so he anchored those to this, he anchored those just by screwing into the post diagonally. And I will say that it wasn't anything fancy. If you wanted to do like a pocket screw, you could do that. We don't have a pocket screw maker, whatever those are called, a pocket jig or something. We just diagonally did it, and since it's under there and he kind of went up into the wood, it's fine. It's basically invisible, and we filled it with wood putty when we were done. So all the spaces for the shelves are the same, and that's fine. We could have measured the quart jars, which are like a little bit over 7, like 7.25. We could have measured those and adjusted the space for it, but because I really like the 1/2 gallon the best, and I didn't know how many of the quarts I was going to use, I didn't really want to pigeonhole myself into that. And as we use this shelf, we will know more about what kinds of things we use. And so far I have found that just because of the jars that I have I want to say like 30 some of these jars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, so that's 33, 44, 45. So far I have 45 of the 1/2 gallon jars in use, and as I see them on sale, which is hardly ever anymore, I pick them up 6 at a time. They come 6 in a case, and I used to get them at Ace Hardware, and we used to get those coupons in the mail, and they would be like $11 a case. But now the price has gone up, and so I've most recently gotten them at Walmart. Occasionally I have thought about ordering them on Amazon, but so far I haven't. I was just afraid they might be damaged in shipping, but you can get them anywhere. And these happen to be the wide mouth ball mason jars, and I have added a plastic lid to them. And now when I got these lids, it was probably 10, 11, 12 years ago. And basically you could get white. I got them at Walmart, I'm pretty sure. And they're not sealing or anything. They are just for dry storage. And I really love them. It makes it easier. You don't have to fiddle with the ring and the lid. So it's just one piece, and it holds the stuff really well. Now I have found out that they have all different colors and everything, but I like the white. I'm good with the white. Just kind of gives it a uniform look in our kitchen. So we attached the boards to the beam, and then we placed it's also a 2x6 sections halfway between, and we made sure that we measured so that the jars would fit, and we wouldn't be cutting off like have this much space and not be able to fit a jar. So he did a really good job measuring and getting that in place. And so that gives support in the middle so that it stays nice and straight. And then the other thing that I was worried about, obviously, because we have this way up here and we have steps down to the downstairs, which has a concrete floor. So anything falling off is going to be smashed. And so I really didn't want that. And so we had thought about different things, different ways to approach this, but we kind of wanted to go with the rustic cabin theme, and we wanted it for structure. So we did what we considered the simplest thing, and I don't know how simple it is, but we went with one piece of rebar, and I believe this is the 1/2 inch rebar across the back. So that way, no matter how much I push the jar, it's not gonna fall. If you had little bitty jelly jars, it might go through, but can you see that I need to dust? It's kind of been collecting dust. Anyway, he attached this. Let me show you how he did this. And this was probably the most fiddly part of what he did, to be honest, was attaching this rebar, because he did go through the support here, and then he had to insert it into the post and into the wall on the other side for structure. And so it did take a little bit of bending. He bored a hole, and then he kind of, the rebar is not terribly flexible, but it's has a little bit of give. And so he kind of just bent it and got it into that space where it will hold it. And it worked out well for us. He just drilled a 1/2 inch hole in this board so that he could go through. And actually, when he put these supports on, he ran the rebar first before he put these on. Otherwise, he would not have been able to do that. It's not that flexible. So that worked pretty well. And then he, let's see, what else after that? Okay, so we went for many, actually several years before we actually moved in, because we were only now just kind of starting to get moved in. We waited on this because we didn't know how we were going to stain it. And so this is poplar, and it is a fairly light to medium color wood. Parts of it are light and parts of them have the variations. It's actually a rainbow poplar. And so we weren't sure. We wanted to get the rest of the kitchen done. So once we got to that point, we went ahead and stained this with Early American to match the doors behind me. And actually it took up the stain, and it's looking a little bit like a light walnut, which perfectly coordinates with our walnut countertops. And then we went over this with a polyacrylic to seal it in, and it works really well. So it's a matte finish. I didn't really want anything shiny, but I did want it to be protected and be able to easily wipe off. Let me show you on the back side what it looks like. This is the back side of the jar shelf. As we go down, we can see that it is filled up here and it goes down. As you can see, the rebar attaches in the back side through that hole that he drilled, and that's pretty simple. It's just a very simple system, but it works really well. It's very strong, and I find that it's very pleasing to me. As you can see, I still have room to grow. I have probably almost double the amount of jars that I can add, and that is fine with me. Maybe someday I'll have this filled up. For now, I don't mind having some of the smaller jars to hold my tea from the garden. This one is lemon verbena, and it makes wonderful tea. Grow some lemon verbena. I like to have the variety, and so occasionally I will pick up random different kind of vintage jars that fit really well on the shelf as well, and hold things like cookies or just other things that don't quite match the bulk food items. And yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. The mason jar shelf wall, super simple, super decorative, and it gives a kind of a nice farmhouse charm. in your kitchen if you're into your bulk items being on display. If that's not your thing, you might want to add a little curtain to hide them, or you might want to put them in cabinets or your pantry. This works for us really well, and so I'm glad to share this idea with you. If you like it, let me know. If you decide to do it and you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any specifics that you have. And I hope you get inspired. Think outside the box and don't be afraid to try new things. Thank you for watching. If you will subscribe, that will help our channel a lot. And you have a great day.